Good morning and welcome to our magical garden. Well, my plans for today were twofold. One, I was going to put all of our decorative items out, but believe it or not, didn't do that because I didn't want to disturb the ducks that are in our pond. So my second plan was to plant a peony that we just bought in this bed called scrumchiliumptious. I've put the actual Latin name on the screen. So I'm going to plant scrumchiliumptious peony in this bed. But before I can do that, I need to do a serious amount of weeding. We have a real Campanula problem, also known as creeping bellflower. It's not actually a weed. You can buy it in garden centres, and it probably makes a good ground cover because boy does it spread, and wow is it difficult to get rid of when you don't want it. So I'll do a scan of this bed and you'll see the problem that I have. So you can see the challenge that I have here with this creeping bellflower, because it really does creep. And one of the challenges that we have with this bed is that we have a very old maple to work around. So it's true to its name, creeping bellflower, because it does creep, but it also leaps. So it has leapt its way across the pathway here. You can see where I've already done some weeding this morning and pulled it out, but all that fresh earth, that's where the creeping bellflower was. I use a weed whacker to keep it down over here, which works fairly successfully. But obviously before I can plant anything in this bed, before I can plant that nice peony, I need to clear all this. So I think that's more than a day's worth of work there, but we'll see. So it rained yesterday, so today is a good weeding day, and you can see the way these are just ready to leap across this path. They're not called creeping bellflower for nothing, although they do have pretty flowers. But you can see our soil is actually not bad. We started with incredible clay soil, but over the years, from working the ground, and from mulch, and from leaving leaves, etc., on the ground, over like 20 years, the soil has markedly improved. Although I can still see a big difference between this, which is our front yard, our front garden, and our back garden. We've worked the back garden much more, put much more mulch down, and the soil is it's superior to what we have here. We've always had a challenge with this bed. This Campanula, creeping bellflower, has been here the whole time we have, and we work it we don't weed it as much as we should, which is why it looks like it looks. But we try to stay on top of it. So you can see it comes up fairly nicely, and you can see why it's called creeping. If I do this, you can see the way I broke it there, but you can see it has long trailing roots. So one plant will creep underground and form another plant, and then creep and form another plant, etc., etc. So the reason it's difficult to get rid of is that you only have to leave a small piece of that root in, and it will start again. and form new plants. If you hear, see if I can do this, I'll get close. If you hear a cracking sound, it means there it was. That's the sound of the root breaking. And obviously the problem with the root breaking is that it then leaves part of that root in the ground and the weed will just grow back. But I find weeding, and once you get into the zone, actually quite satisfying. The satisfaction of it is you can see an end result. You can see already just in a few minutes I've cleared this patch, and I know it's only temporary because there are still weeds under there that are going to come back. But it's still satisfying to go from this to this and have a nice fresh patch of earth. And hopefully you can get something planted in, like a peony that will cover the ground, which is the plan over there when once I've cleared all this, is to plant a scrumptious peony. Can you hear that cracking sound? All those roots just breaking. Look at that. And of course the problem with weeding, as with a lot of gardening, is what do you do with all of the stuff that you've pulled out? Because just from that little bit there and the little bit I did over there, I've got a bucket full. One of the things I've done in the past, we had a big challenge with ditch lilies, orange daylilies. The back was just, the whole bed had been taken over by them. So it took me several years to get rid of them all. But what I did was dug them up and placed them on a tarp to dry out. Left them for a week or so the soil was completely dry, and then you could remove the soil without having to throw the heavy soil away. So I'm not going to do that with these because they don't hold that much soil. But it's a lot of in our neighbourhood we have brown bags that we can put weeds in that are picked up, but it's not cheap. You have to pay for the bags and you have to put a sticker on them. So I think one of the things that puts people off from weeding, other than the labour, is getting rid of the weeds once you've dug them up. Although, to be honest, I think that's probably an excuse for not doing it. I understand why people don't like it. One, because it's hard work, but two, because it's not permanent. It's definitely temporary, but then everything about gardening is temporary. It's temporary, but at the same time, as I said, actually satisfying because you see end result. I worked in the corporate world in a job where you didn't really get to see end results. It was always about the next task. So one of the reasons I like gardening is the sense of satisfaction it can give you. One of the things I find interesting just about my personal journey with gardening is I definitely grew into it as a young person. I loathed it, I hated it. My mother had a back garden and she wasn't well, and my dad passed away when I was young. So it kind of fell to me and my younger siblings to try to keep the garden under control, and we couldn't. And it was always seen as a chore. Oh, also, one of my first jobs was working as a lab technician in a school, and you've guessed it, part of my job was to look after the school's garden. And again, I was straight out of school, so I was 18, 19. So I don't think it's something that your typical 18, 19-year-old is into, but it's something that I've really grown to appreciate. I really understand when people talk about being close to nature and what have you. And it's something in the spring that I actually look forward to. I mean, look at that. There's barely any soil here. It's solid tree roots. Doesn't stop these guys. Look at that. One of the things I admire about weeds, though, is how resilient they are and how they can. Some weeds, not these guys. These guys don't bother with mimicking anything. But the way some weeds can just blend in with your other plants, and before you know it, they're 6 feet tall and towering above your other plants. But no, these Campanula are not that. They're not shy. Look at that. Oh, although I've got the whole root there, I think. So, how about you guys? Have you got any weeding stories, any weeding nightmares? Any weeding successes? Has anyone had success completely getting rid of creeping bellflower? Or maybe you have it in your garden and you actually like it because it does have pretty flowers, and maybe you managed to keep it under control. Let us know in the comments. Do you see what I mean, though, about it being satisfying? It's a little like you can watch YouTube videos of people power washing things. It's a little like that, because you start with something and end up with a nice clean slate. So the one thing I would never do with weeds is use weed killer. Because obviously it's not good for the environment, not good for the soil, not good for other plants that are not the weeds you're trying to kill. It's a little bit like pesticide. No such thing as pesticide. Pesticide is insecticide. It kills insects, including look at that root, wow, including good insects. You use a pesticide, better known as an insecticide because it kills insects. And what you're doing is completely disturbing any ecosystem that you have set up in your garden. Because, okay, it might kill. It might kill the bad bugs, but you know, maybe I'm just gonna have to go. Maybe the good bugs eat that particular bad bug, and then they don't have anything to eat, and they die out. And further up the food chain, whatever was eating the bugs that ate the bad bugs also are impacted. And before you know it, you've completely changed for the worst your ecosystem. So pesticides, insecticides, no, no, no. That's looking pretty good. At least for a couple of weeks. So one of the things I didn't mention were these knee pads. They're a lifesaver. Absolutely necessary. Save your knees. And when you reach a certain age, it becomes important. I think it's important to get down on your knees or even lie on your side rather than try to bend, because that causes all kinds of issues with your back. So a good pair of knee pads are a great investment, I think, for the gardener. Oh, listen to that ripping sound, it's not good. It's also important, kind of goes without saying, I hope, to wear gloves. Because although it's a temptation to actually get your hands in the soil because it's good, and you know, gardeners are supposed to have dirty fingernails, but which I do. There are things in here that could hurt you if they bite you. You hear horror stories of somebody that was bitten by a spider and it caused all kinds of health issues. So yeah, wear gloves. So, another thing I just thought of, weeding is like mountain climbing, where they tell you when mountain climbing or rock climbing, which I've done a little bit of in my younger days, but they tell you, don't they, not to look down. So with weeding, I'm not going to look back there because I look what I've done and I realise that I'm less than halfway through. So it can be, in that respect, it can be a little demotivating. So it's always best to just be, I think, in the zone where you actually are, not worrying about the future. In this case, the future's only a few minutes away, but it's daunting because you can see there's a lot more to do. So rather than looking down, as it were, just be looking ahead, just be looking where you are in the moment, which of course helps to keep you in the moment, which is what makes gardening, even weeding, such a joy, is being in the moment thing. Because my cell phone is in the house, and there's no way I'm going to be looking at that, not even thinking about it, just thinking about what it is they're doing, which in this case is getting rid of these annoying little buggers. But the reward at the end is going to be not just a nice clean patch of soil, but them being able to plant something in it. So I'm looking forward to planting another intersectional peony in this bed, because if you haven't done yet, check out my video on peonies, on growing and caring for them and the different types, etc. Because in my opinion, peonies are probably, definitely in our zone, 5B, probably the most spectacular flowering plant that you can have. And tree peonies and intersectional Ito peonies just take that to the next level. I mean, peonies, herbaceous peonies are beautiful, but of course the way they flop over can be really disappointing, you know, and trying to put them in a cage, etc., can be a bit of a pain. But you don't have any of that with Ito and tree peonies. Tree peonies in particular are just spectacular. They do take a long time to grow, because they can live up to 100 years. But you plant a tree peony, and you're making a real investment in the future, and really leaving a legacy really for other people. Yeah, I can't really say enough about peonies. They're fabulous. And to be honest, I've only just recently discovered them. It was actually Connie, my wife, that introduced them to me. I didn't know there was any such thing. I just thought they were just herbaceous peonies. But yeah, when we bought this tree peony, wow, yeah. Every May, it's just spectacular. So here we are, a couple of hours later, and I've more or less finished the bed, removed all of the campanulas I could find, left a nice clear spot right there for planting our next Ito peony, Scrumptious. But that won't be today, because I am done for the day. But it was very, very satisfying. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.